Hello everyone, Phil here, and welcome to DSP versus the Internet, my weekly clips react show here on DSPReacts, where the members nominate videos to be watched and I react to them. We do this once a week here on the channel, and I want to say thanks to everyone here live, thanks to everyone watching. I believe today would be episode 19 of the show for June 24th, 2023. This will be split up into probably 6 parts, so I hope that you'll check them all out slowly over the course of this week. If you become a channel member today, you will have access to this stream the moment it ends, and you can watch it uncut live here on the channel as an archive. In addition, it's the members who submit these videos. So if you become a member today, you can be a person to submit these videos for next week. Now, the way it works, if you're an Ultra member, you're guaranteed to have your video watched. And since I do this show 4 times a month, you get 4 videos watched every single month. If you're a standard member, well, then you're going to compete with all other members in a playlist that we're going to hit shuffle on and watch in a random order. Excuse me, to give you some perspective, this week, basically, we had over 50 submissions. I think we have 51 videos that are going to kind of be competing here to be watched. And so because of that, obviously, we're not going to watch all of them. So if you're a standard member, you have an equal chance of everyone else to have your video watched. But if you're the Ultra member, you're guaranteed to get your content watched 4 times a month. Pretty good value, all right? If anyone contributes during the show today, thank you so very much. As you know, I will do shout-outs between the parts. Thanks for understanding. Also, one final thing. Last week, we had an abrupt end to the show. I lost my internet. There was a vandal who destroyed some of the internet lines in this area, and there was 10,000 people who didn't have internet for about 24 hours. It sucked. Luckily, we did finish the show, and I was in my final kind of closing thoughts when this happened. Obviously, if that ever happens, I apologize. I did try to get the content up as soon as I could after the fact, and hopefully we don't have those kind of issues moving forward, all right? All right. All that being said, I think it is now time to get started with the show. All right, thank you very much. Without further ado, our first video of the week. I don't even know what this is. I guess we're about to find out. Here we go.
So it's Christmas. So I guess there's really no better time to tell you guys my favorite Christmas story. Yeah, Christmas. You know, the time of year where all the middle-aged women on Facebook try to convince you that their whole family sleeps in matching pajamas and somehow magically wakes up with their hair done. That time of year where bad guys have to sleep with one eye open because they're not quite sure if America's going to take the day off or paddle a boat across a frozen river to try to kill them in their sleep. The time of year where the Marine Corps changes their selector switch from making people the less fortunate to helping the less fortunate. Yeah, we're talking about Toys for Tots. It all started in 1947 when then Major Bill Hendricks of the Marine Corps Reserve was instructed by his wife to deliver several handmade dolls to an agency that would give them out to children that were less fortunate. After attempting to do so, he would report back to his wife Diane to inform her that no such agency existed. To which Diane responded, "Then fucking make one." And Major Hendricks would do just that. That year of 1947, the Marine Corps Reserve component out of Los Angeles, California, would gather and distribute over 5,000 toys to children that...
I had absolutely no idea that Toys for Tots was started by the Marines. I had no idea at all. Interesting.
Were less fortunate. The following year in 1948, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, seeing what a huge success it was, would make it a standard across the entire nation. This effort by the Marine Corps would eventually turn into the non-profit organization we know today as Toys for Tots, where they deliver on average 18 million toys a year to children that are less fortunate. And now for my favorite Christmas story. Orville Smith, a store manager of Best Buy in Augusta, told the police he observed a male customer later identified as Tyrone Jackson of Augusta on surveillance cameras putting a laptop computer under his jacket. When confronted, the man became irate, knocked down an employee, drew a knife, and ran for the door. Outside that door on the sidewalk were 4 Marines collecting toys for the Toys for Tots program. Smith said the Marines stopped the man, but he stabbed one of the Marines, a Corporal Philip Dunnigan, in the back. The injury did not appear to be severe. After the police and ambulance arrived at the scene, Corporal Dunnigan was transported for treatment. See if I can read it this time without laughing. Okay, here we go. The subject was also transported to the local hospital with 2 broken arms, a broken ankle, a broken leg, several missing teeth, possible broken ribs, multiple contusions, assorted lacerations, a broken nose, and a broken jaw. Injuries that he sustained when he fell off the curb after he stabbed the first Marine, according to the police report.
He fell off the curb. Whoops! He slipped, he tripped, and apparently he was like Mr. Glass. from the M. Night Shyamalan movies and broke all of his limbs at once. That's exactly what happened, I'm sure. Okay.
That's not a war crime if the curb did it, apparently. What happened? It was gravity, I swear. I bet all that guy wants for Christmas is his 2 front teeth. And the best part about that story is everybody's like, that didn't actually happen. That's gotta be fake. That can't be true. No, here's a Snopes score. Mostly true. And the only reason it's mostly true is because they didn't quite believe it was just the curb. Which is fair, but in the military you have to understand reality isn't defined by what actually happened. It's defined by whoever has the most sworn statements saying what happened. Meaning that if all 4 of those Marines are like, motherfucker fell down, I don't know, then that's what fucking happened. And then there's the other part, which I've said before. If you ever have a chance to hang out with Marines, do it, because the worst case scenario, the cops show up, and one of them is always a Marine that's gonna let you off easy. And then even if the cops do show up, one of those
All right. So I guess this guy tells a lot of stories related to the military, right? Like last time we heard him do a documentary about like a military story, right? About that submarine or the boat the submarine that took out a bunch of stuff, and now they're talking about these Marines that do Toys for Tots. I never knew that Toys for Tots was from the Marines. It's just very interesting. All right, interesting. Good start. Let's continue. What's next?
You should really start using a credit card. It's the financially responsible thing to do.
The world, according to John.
Why do I get the feeling this is going to be a parody video?
Hello and welcome to The World According to John. My name is Jonathan Paula. On today's episode, we're going to talk about financial responsibility, specifically the debate between credit cards and debit cards. Now, for the uninitiated, a debit or credit card is a small plastic card you hold in your wallet and bring to a store in exchange for goods or services. Now, as for the differences to how these cards actually operate, it's real simple. A debit card, you swipe it at the store, say you're buying a $500 TV, that $500 is deducted immediately from your checking account, meaning money you already have stored in the bank. If you don't have that money available, well then the purchase will either not go through or it'll deduct more money than you have and you'll get charged an overdraft fee. Whereas a credit card is based on a credit limit. I could have, say, a $20,000 limit on my credit card, meaning I can spend up to that amount before I get any fees or overdraft charges. So I can buy that
$20,000 limit on your credit card. Holy shit. Like, you must have really good credit to have a $20,000 limit on your credit card.
$100 TV or a $5,000 TV and not worry about it. But in 1 month's time, then I have to pay for it. And if I don't pay it off in full, that's when you start getting fees and interest, etc. But in the long run, a credit card allows you to buy more and do a lot more with it. In fact, there's no real argument or debate here. A credit card is better than a debit card. In every way, one thing can be better than another thing. And yet, I still keep running into people who swear by their debit cards and refuse to get a credit card. And this perplexes me, and I'm going to explain why credit cards are definitely the way to go.
All right. From a credit perspective, okay, and for someone who's had many credit problems and financial problems, the credit card has so many benefits, it's absolutely correct. For example, a credit card usually will allow you to have protections for fraud. A credit card will usually have some kind of a incentive to use it, like a rewards program where you can earn points, or you can actually earn credit towards the card. That's like free money. There's some credit cards that are like, if you spend a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, you get loyalty points, and then you can use it to pay your balance off. You could use it to get like frequent flyer miles. If you fly a lot, you buy a lot of plane tickets, you can earn like free promotional credits in that way. Okay, so there absolutely positively are great benefits to having a credit card, but the catch is you have to be completely financially responsible. You have to be in a situation where you can pay down that balance and not have it just constantly accruing interest every month. If you don't pay it off in full every month, what you spend, that is, it's going to accrue interest, and then you're going to have to pay a lot of money on it. And what ends up happening is that's exponential interest, where every month it just recalculates on itself. It becomes more and more. Your minimum payments go up and up and up, and that's where you get into trouble. That's the problem. If everyone was financially responsible, and if everyone could absolutely be guaranteed that they were going to pay off their credit card every single month, then credit cards are better. The problem is there's risk. There's this risk involved. With a debit card, there's zero risk. If you don't have the money, you can't make the purchase. So there you go. With the credit card, you're going to make the purchase, but then you have to deal with the repercussions of having made that purchase later. If you had all that buying power, right? Let's say you have, I don't know, a $2,000 credit card, correct? And you're going clothes shopping, all right? Now, you shouldn't be spending that much money. Maybe you should only be spending about $100 today on clothes. But you have the $2,000 credit card, and you just happen to see a jacket that's $250 and it looks amazing. Are you not tempted to buy it on the credit card because you know you can buy it? Now, you know that you shouldn't buy it because you can't afford to make that payment this month, but you could buy it and then pay it slowly, but then there's interest. You see, there's the temptation and there's responsibility. And that's the problem. Most people who get credit cards, sadly, don't really have that level of responsibility. They overspend and then they can't pay it off over time, and then they end up in bad financial problems. So that's the catch. Are there tons of benefits to having a credit card? Absolutely there are. But at the same time, it's a trick that you have to be so ready to handle what you're putting on that card and pay it off right away, or else in the long term, it's worse. You know? It's kind of hard to... It's almost like... I'm trying to think like what's the best way to explain, right? I always say the best way to go through life is to not have that temptation. Like, for example, some people say to me, you know, how is it that you've lost weight in the last 5 years? And I answer, because we have home-cooked meals all the time, and I literally don't have things in my house that would tempt me. I don't have greasy chips. I don't have sugary chocolate or cake, or none of that's in my house. When it's not there, the temptation's not there, I'm not going to do the bad thing, and therefore, over the years, I've lost weight. So if you don't have the credit card, you don't have the temptation to spend on the credit card. If all you have is a debit card and you have a limit because only what's in the bank account is what you can spend, you're way more apt to not do the wrong thing. Do you see? Okay, let's continue.
First and foremost, identity theft and protection. If someone steals and uses your debit card, they're going to buy something and that money's coming right out of your bank.
Yep.
Now, you
He's
could
right.
contest it and maybe eventually get the money back. But with a credit card, you can just call the credit card company and dispute it, and that charge will be immediately removed. And none of the money is ever spent.
Wrong. That's incorrect. That's complete misinformation. What ends up happening is you have to call the credit card company, you have to file a claim, they launch an investigation to prove that it wasn't you that did it. So, for example, let's say you live in Washington State like I do, but all of a sudden there's charges from Florida. How did I spend my card in Florida? I'm here in Washington. This is where I live. You contact the company, they'll look into it, and usually after a period of investigation, which could last weeks to months, they'll wipe that off of your statement and you won't be responsible for it. There's been situations where it doesn't work. For example, there was this one time that I went to a furniture store and I wanted to buy a dining set and a couch, okay? They quoted me a price. I agreed to the price. They charged it to my card. 2 months later, they charged me an additional charge saying that that was the fee for the couch. And I'm like, wait a minute. No. You quoted me the price. I agreed to it. So I disputed the charge. And after like a month of investigation, the credit card company denied it and says, well, it's he said, she said, we can't prove it. This wasn't outright theft. Therefore, we're not granting your claim. So, yeah, basically, it's not what he's saying. He's acting like, oh, it's just a given. It's an easy thing. It's not. It's a professional thing you have to do. There's investigations that get launched. By the way, if they prove that you're trying to do fraudulent stuff all the time, they'll close your account. So, yeah, he's definitely oversimplifying the situation. What he's saying is not necessarily true.
So, because there's that 30-day window between when you actually buy it and when you have to pay for it, they give you a much bigger safety net because, in essence, you are paying the credit card company for your purchase and not the store directly as you would with a debit card. Point number 2, why they're better. You're going to build your credit history.
This is correct.
If you're going to be swiping a plastic card, you might as well just use a credit card because it's the same habit, the same motion. But with a credit card, you're building your credit history. And why is that important? Because somewhere down the road, you might not be thinking about it yet, but you might want to buy a house or buy a car. And when that happens, you're going to have a mortgage or a finance plan. And that plan is based in part on your credit score. Building a good credit score takes a lot of time. And one way to do that is to have a credit card, pay it down on time, consistently, and show borrowers and banks and lenders that you are good with their money and they can...
He's right. But the double-edged sword here is that if you have balances on those credit cards that you don't pay off in full all the time, that hurts your credit. So let's say, for example, you took out a credit card for the idea that you want to build up your credit history. You want to show I've been using credit for 5-10 years and that you're responsible. But then, well, wait a minute, you have a balance on your credit card. That hurts your credit score. So you were intending to help your credit score, but it hurt it instead. So again, it's a double-edged sword depending on how responsible you are with your credit. So again, he's right, but he's not really telling the full situation here.
Trust you to buy stuff. Now, for the third reason as to why credit is better, you can rent cars with it and book hotels. I haven't had too many instances happen to me personally, but I have heard horror stories where you get off a plane, you're in a foreign city, and you want to go rent a car, and they only accept credit. Part of the reason is they want to make sure you can pay for it if you total their car. And you might only have $20 in your debit account or only $20 in your wallet. And the fact is they want insurance, and a lot of credit cards have that insurance built in. So if you want to be able to rent a car or book a hotel, sometimes you need a credit card. They won't take any other form of payment. Now for the fourth reason, and my personal favorite, credit cards earn you points and reward money. Many credit cards offer you bonuses for everyday regular purchases. Just continue with your normal spending habits and you'll get free money. Over the last 3 years, I have earned over $1,000 in this reward money. And all I had to do was keep buying gas, food, groceries, and other fun stuff I like to buy every single day. So why not use a credit card? If you're going to be making these purchases anyway, use a credit card while you do it, and over time, that 1% will add up and you can get yourself something nice at the end of the year. Now, the only real argument against credit cards is a rather irrational and unreasonable one, and that is, I'm terrible with my money and I can't handle it. I don't have any willpower. If I have a credit card here, well, what if I just go and buy something I can't afford? That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Why would you buy something you can't afford? That is the cardinal rule of financial advice.
No, see, and this is where someone who's never been in a situation can't speak to it because they think that they're just smarter than you, all right? That's really not what happens. What happens is you think you can afford it and then you can't. So for example, let's say, okay, I'm furnishing a house. So I have to buy like I just said, a couch. So you buy the couch, you think you can afford it. Oops, I lost my job. Now what do I do? Right? Or oops, my car broke down and obviously I need to fix the car to get to work. So I have to spend $5,000 on the car. Now I can't afford to pay the couch. You see, that's really what happens. It's not, oh, I'm an idiot who went up there and racked up every card to maximum and it screwed me over because I'm a dumb, irresponsible moron. It's, oh, I had a plan and then sadly things in my life went awry and now the plan I can't adhere to anymore. You know, that's really what happens to people. Now, I'm sure there's people who are completely irresponsible with money as well, but most people are, you know, when horrible things happen, it's not always because there's some kind of a fucking idiot, okay? This guy obviously has never had anything happen to him in his life, and therefore he doesn't understand how things can go wrong. So it's kind of messed up that he says it like that. Oh, yeah, you know, if you're a fucking idiot and you're irresponsible. No, it's because life happens, you know? I couldn't tell you how many times things just come up out of nowhere that you're not planning on, and then you got to somehow deal with it, man. You know, so if you didn't have the debt, right, then you don't have to worry about, oh no, now I can't pay it off because something else came up that's way more important that has to be dealt with. So, yeah, I definitely feel like this video has a lot of truths to it, but at the same time, it's very one-sided and it's very from one particular situation or viewpoint. It's absolutely not 100% truthful at all, right? It's just not. So, a little disingenuous, but in general, some of the things he's saying do ring true. So, all right, let's go on to the next one.
My airplane seat has 3 rooms. This back here, that's my bedroom.
The resident, the most ridiculous airplane seat in the sky. Etihad residence. Etihad Airways.
Okay, this is it. I'm about to board the plane and fly in the Residence, which is a 3-room
like
airplane seat with like a living room, a bathroom, and a bedroom, and it's on an A380. This huge plane.
Welcome to the Residence. Please make yourself at home.
This is it. This is my seat. I think we're taking off now.
So firstly, we have your complimentary Etihad Wi-Fi voucher. We have your headsets, noise cancelling, pyjamas, and also an additional loungewear robe. Very comfortable. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I heard this guy's name, but I don't know who he is.
It's the actual signature of the pilot, Tim. Okay, I'll now begin with a little tour. First is this room here. This room is considered like the living room. If you walk back here, through my hallway, you get to this room. This is the bedroom, an entire bedroom. And then if you head back to the living room, on the way there is this room. All right, back to the living room. it's got 2 full-size seats. And when I say full-size, I don't mean like a regular airplane seat. I mean like what is effectively
basically
2 fully reclining seats. It really feels a lot more like a couch, maybe. Now, just across from this gigantic seat is this little bench here. And in addition to it serving as a great footrest, you could also just sit here. And then under this cushion,
mini fridge,
refrigerator. Legroom. Typically, legroom is measured in inches, but in this seat,
he's got sneaker slippers. That's funny.
So that there is about 3 feet of legroom, but if I move over about 1.5 feet to the right, my legroom increases by quite the margin.
Oh my god. This has got to cost so much, right? This has seriously got to cost
that's
like
14
thousands
feet
and
of
thousands
legroom.
of dollars for this flight. It's got to be.
Now, when you're back here, you have like a proper bedroom. So the bed is like a real bed, like a proper bed. That's just a mirror. Now, what feels really extraordinary about this, besides the fact that I'm laying in a bed on an airplane, is just the sheer amount of privacy you have. So when you're in the seat, you definitely have privacy.
The one thing that gets me about this, though, is like, imagine if like you're on this plane, and because it's a small plane, obviously, right? This is not a huge plane. This is probably a small private charter jet. Can you imagine if you're like in bed and then you hit fucking bad turbulence and you just get tossed, right? You just get tossed and you're flying and bouncing off the goddamn walls and shit. Because I've been on some bad flights. I've been on some flights with some of the worst turbulence I've ever. You wouldn't even think it existed. You're like your guts are getting smashed, right? Oh, it's a huge plane? Oh, it is? People are saying this is actually a giant plane. I didn't know. It's an Airbus? I missed that. I wasn't paying attention. People are saying it's a Airbus giant plane. Oh, okay, never mind. Then even if there is turbulence, it probably wouldn't be that bad. Unless, obviously, something horrible's happening, right? I've been on some small planes. It's like, oh, my God, the turbulence is so bad. Can you imagine? You're in bed. You're like, whoa, you're thrown out of the bed. You're like, oh, fuck. You're bouncing all over the fucking walls and shit, right? Anyway.
There's this wall here, but look, somebody could just kind of peek over. There's no windows, no one can get back here. There's a big bed, and there's a TV for you.
What the fuck were they watching? What was that?
That was the turn down service.
I guess, so the question is, what kind of flights is this for? It even says this is the most expensive plane ticket in the world. And it probably costs, I'm going to guess this is like $10,000, seriously. But anyway, my question would be, excuse me, geez. My question then would be, what flights, like, where does this go, right? Because if you're going to pay that much money to have a room, a movable hotel room, the question is, like, it has to be a long flight, right? Can you imagine if there's only, like, a 3-hour flight, but you're spending that much money for the flight, right? Abu Dhabi? Saudi Arabia is where it goes. Oh, yeah? Okay.
Now, an airplane bathroom is usually the grossest place on the whole plane. It's basically a flying porta potty. But with this seat, you get a private bathroom. You don't have to share this bathroom with anyone. This is just my bathroom. If you wanted to use the toilet with the door open, you definitely could. And in addition to all these fancy amenities, You have your own proper shower right here.
So you take a shower on the plane. Huh. Yes, I'm sure he got in nude with the
This is how
camera.
much time you have. When it gets to red, you're out of water. You get 10 whole minutes here. Who takes a 10-minute long shower?
So, alright, so Derek says, the flight from New York City to London is listed at 6 hours, 55 minutes. It never takes that long. That's for the entire private jet. The NYC to Abu Dhabi is $64,000. $64,000 for this ticket. What the hell? Oh, definitely worth it. Definitely worth it.
Didn't bring any extra underwear. I tried to wash these in the shower. Probably a terrible idea.
He didn't bring extra underwear. Wow. So this is, what's this? The regular area? This is the not private area. Oh, it's shared? It's shared? Because there were other people there. Because there, yeah. So basically, it's not a private thing. There's other people there, but you have your own private area, but you have to walk through it to get to the other areas. I thought it was like a room. I thought it was actually like a flying hotel room. It's not. Okay, well, that was a little revealing, what he just showed there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is he gonna eat tacos?
It's my first course.
My first course, multiple courses of food.
Thank you. A main course.
This one here. It's a passion fruit sorbet.
Thank you. Palate cleanser. Second main course. So we're just about there, which means I have to get off this plane soon, which is unfortunate. See, there are two things that you never really get when flying on an airplane, and that's space and privacy. And this flight had a borderline ridiculous amount of both of those things. Look, this is an empty seat right here. So in conclusion, I didn't pay for this flight. They gave it to me for free, so I'd make a YouTube video about it. But if you're looking to spend about the price of a new Toyota on one flight, what an experience. Thank you.
What's the fight?
It was wonderful.
Wow. Well, that was interesting, to say the least, right? Very interesting. But wow, is that worth it? Absolutely not, right? Absolutely ridiculous. The price of that. I mean, if you're filthy rich, it doesn't matter. But you know, that's things that none of us will ever experience. That shit, right? But even then, it wasn't fully private. I was getting the impression until the very end there that it was all completely private. And then no, there's actually this general area you walk through with all these other people there, and so it's not. I don't think it's worth it then, honestly. So. When was the last flight I took? What was the most expensive? Last flight I took was to Connecticut and back to see my parents and get married, and that was 2019. What was the most expensive flight? I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. I don't remember. I used to fly all over the place for Street Fighter, and sometimes those would be very expensive. I remember spending over $1,000 on flights before, but I couldn't tell you exactly. And no, I've only flown coach. I've never flown first class or anything like that. So, okay. That's it for DSP versus the Internet Part 1 for June 24, 2023. I hope you enjoyed it. A good variety of stuff. We're still watching Ultra video submissions from Ultra members. I hope that you enjoyed the part. Thanks for watching. We'll be back shortly with more, and see you then.